Good afternoon. We'd like to thank you guys for coming out. We realized the weekend that we had was traumatic, and for those families affected, we want you to know that our hearts, our thoughts, and our prayers are with you. We are working diligently to make sure that we bring closure for you and your family during this time of need. With that being said, what we're going to do today is have Chief Humphrey to come up and talk about each individual homicide that happened this weekend. We'll have some thoughts on it. We're also going to talk to you guys about the numbers, and we'll break down the numbers and compare them to last year, maybe take a couple of questions. With that being said, let me turn it over to Chief Humphrey.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, our hearts go out to the families and friends of our victims of this weekend's homicides. It is never a good time when a chief has to speak on these type of events. But we also have to remember that each and every one of the individuals involved that were victims, they are someone's family member, whether that's brother, whether that's husband, wife, child, it's someone's family member. And the holidays, there's never a good time for anyone to lose their life, but just the fact that this occurred during the holidays, it just adds to the tragedy. So I want to give you an update, or run down some chronological details regarding each incident. Long Coy homicide. Saturday, December the 26th, just before 4 p.m., Little Rock police officers responded to a call in the 2700 block of Long Coy Street on an assist medical call. When officers arrived, they were directed to the front door of the home by Mr. Quincy Harris. Officers then entered the residence and found Ms. Kamisha Harris deceased on the living room floor. Our homicide detectives and crime scene specialists responded and began conducting an investigation. This homicide is a result of a domestic related incident. As a result of the investigation, Mr. Harris was charged with first-degree murder. We continue to urge anyone that knows any type of situation where someone's in an abusive relationship or someone is being threatened, someone who feels as though they are being threatened and they feel like they're in danger. We continue to ask our citizens to reach out. We continue to ask our citizens to call 911. But, we do have a top-notch victims advocate program that are here to help victims. As you all know, last year we received grant funding to add additional victims advocates to our city, to our police departments, and we have those advocates that are assigned to each police patrol division. We have advocates that are they're Spanish speaking. We have advocates that are focused on our elderly and our LGBTQ plus community. And so we have resources, we have advocates, we have programs to help our citizens. No citizen deserves to be a victim. No citizen deserves to live in fear. And so we have the resources here at the Little Rock Police Department that we really would like to, for citizens to know that they're available. The number to our helpline is 501-918-HELP. 501-918-HELP. 4357. That's 501-918-4357, or HELP. Samara Lynn homicide. On Saturday, December the 26th of 2020, December 26, 2020, our officers responded to a call of shots fired on Maryland Drive around 10:30 p.m. Once at the scene, the officers were informed that someone was inside the residence and they were possibly in a medical distress. The officers had to force entry inside of the residence and located a deceased black male, Brandon Simpson, 36 years of age, from the city of Little Rock. Our homicide detectives and our crime scene specialists responded and began to conduct an investigation of the scene. This investigation is ongoing. However, detectives are working all viable leads with hopes of confirming a suspect in this case. We know that there is some type of confrontation. We knew there's some type of confrontation occurred before the homicide, and we believe that the suspect and the victim knew each other. Dyer Springs homicide on December the 27th, 2020, during the early morning hours, just after 6 a.m. Our Little Rock officers were called to the 6900 block of Dyer Springs regarding a man who was reported to be passed out in a pool of blood. When officers arrived, they found a black male who was later identified as Michael Oliver, age 47, of Little Rock, deceased inside his apartment. Homicide detectives and crime scene specialists responded, and they are conducting an ongoing investigation at this time. We are analyzing evidence at the scene, and we're working to develop a suspect. This investigation is ongoing, and very little information can be released at this time based on it being an ongoing investigation. On December the 27th of 2020, December 27, 2020, Little Rock police officers responded to an accident in the 8400 block of Labette Drive. While en route, officers were informed the driver of the vehicle had been shot. When officers arrived, they discovered 24-year-old Zachary Esther in the driver's seat of the car. Aid was rendered, but Esther was pronounced dead at the scene. Homicide detectives and crime scene specialists arrived to process the scene and conduct an investigation. As in the previous case, we're analyzing evidence at this scene and are working to develop a suspect. This investigation is ongoing, so very little information can be shared at this time. As I mentioned earlier, our thoughts and prayers go out with these families. My focus here is just to make sure that the citizens of Little Rock know that we take these incidents seriously. We don't want anyone in our city to be afraid to be out. As we mentioned earlier, these incidents, we believe, these were incidents, random incidents that the suspect and victim knew each other. That doesn't justify, that doesn't make it any better. But I think the citizens need to know that we don't have anyone that's walking out around here that's targeting anyone. These were incidents where the victim and suspects, I want to repeat that, the victim and suspect knew each other in some method. And so our officers are working extremely hard. It's been nonstop for them over the last 24 to 36 hours in working and following up on leads. We'll continue to do that. That's what we do here at the Little Rock Police Department. We take this so seriously that I ended my leave early to come back to speak to our community, to let them know how important this is, how serious we take this, and how important it is for me as a police chief to ensure that our citizens are safe and that no one feels as though they will be targeted. As of so far as this year, we as of today, 55 total homicides. Last year, we had 43 total homicides at this time. That is, as you know, that's 12 more, but at the same time, we are right there with we call national standards, which is we've seen a 42% increase in violent crimes throughout the nation. That doesn't make it any better for the city of Little Rock. However, we realize that this has been a rough year for everyone. As we mentioned earlier, the victim and suspect knew each other in some way. Whether that does the COVID play a role in that? Well, it could, because you have more people staying in. People become agitated. I've said this over and over again. We've got to find a conflict resolution to these issues here. We have a conflict resolution problem here in our city, obvious by what's going on this past weekend, and we've got to figure out a way to ensure that people agree to disagree in not such a violent way, and that's what's concerning for me. And so, but I think our citizens need to know that our police officers are working extremely hard. We believe that we know that we're going to be able to identify these individuals But what we do need, we need the community's help. We do. We need the community's help. And if you know anything, we started this in 2019, see something, say something. We've expanded our Victims Advocates program. Our officers are not limited to going out and being proactive. And, we've got our impact unit out. That's one of the things we talked about to focus on our violent crimes. And we are hitting those areas that we know that have, the data shows that we have a probability of violent crime occurring. However, these incidents occurred behind closed doors. These incidents occurred where we would not have known unless if someone would not have called and reported some type of incident, we would not have known. We don't know what happened to lead to the deaths of these individuals. We know that there was some type of altercation, some type of disagreement that occurred between the victim and the suspect. They knew each other. And so that is concerning because when you get to a point where you can't agree to disagree and it leads to someone being injured seriously or being murdered, that's a concern, and our citizens should be concerned about that. And as a police chief, we're going to work on methods to address that. How do we get that? How do we educate our community that we do have these advocates? How do we do a better job of letting our community know that there's a way to disagree? It's okay for people to disagree, but there's more civil ways to do this than someone being killed or someone being hurt. Like I said earlier, when you talk about someone's death, this is someone's family member. There's some little boys whose mother fell victim of violence during the Christmas holidays. That affects us. That affects each and every, all of us that are here today. That affects us personally and professionally. And so we're going to continue to do what we're doing to ensure that our city remains safe. Like I said earlier, these individuals are going to be arrested, identified and arrested, but we still need your help. And anything that you know, any little bit of information that you might be able to provide us, we really would like to do that. And I think this is why the citizens understand why we have the impact unit, why we have more of a geographical concept so that we can be more intimately in tune with what's going on in our communities, where also we want people to feel comfortable in coming to us when they feel that they have a problem. And so those are the things that we're going to continue to focus on.
Does anybody have any questions?
What do you see as the solution to ending this kind of violence in the city? Is there anything that you're pursuing as far as a solution?
Yeah, there's two things. One of the things I've spoken with the mayor about, and we've got to come up with some form of citywide conflict resolution program where people can learn how to disagree and learn, whether that's how do you argue with someone, how do you walk away from something. Those are things that we've got to do in this city. I've said that over and over again. Little Rock is an amazing city. But when, sitting here as a police chief, you do start to see that people get so angry with each other that they end up taking a life or injuring someone. There's a problem there. And if nothing else, as a police chief, I have to look at more proactive ways how to do it, because it's not always about reactive. And then the other thing is that I'm looking at establishing an anti-violence task force, a group of educators, a group of nonprofit leaders, civil rights leader ministers, to talk about these problems and to see how we can come up with a better game plan of reducing our crime, our violent crime, so that we don't have another weekend like we just had.
2020 has been the highest year in 10 years of homicide-related incidents. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the national standard, and it's not just the city of Little Rock. And I'm not trying to justify, will never try to justify, but you have to look at, you're talking about the city has grown as far as the population. Take 10 years ago, we're probably 10 to 15% larger in population than we were then. That plays a role. The COVID situation, where you have more people who are people's finances. There's a lot of tension, and so a lot of people are inside, and they may have thought about something where they may have been able to discuss things previously and disagreed and left, and came back. They're not able to do that now. You have to understand finances, the contingent part, the unknown. People are being laid off. So I think this is a whole different dynamic than 10 years ago. When you're looking at what's going on with the COVID, it has completely changed the way we're having to do law enforcement, the things that we're responding to, issues that we may have been involved more. People don't want us in their homes more. They want to handle things on their own, and so they may not have the resources to do some of the things that they've been able to do. So it goes back to 10 years ago, just the transition and the paradigm shift of 10 years ago to now. Just there's so many different things that go along with that. But it's still a concern, absolutely.
No more.
These are kind of just two quick number yes no. So I just want to verify with the Levette incident, maybe it didn't that like pretty certain other based on what you know all about the.
Based on what we know, we believe that there's some connection. Yes.
And then real quick, my other question was you mentioned increasing the number of advocates. Do you have a number?
Well, what I meant is that last year we received grant funding and we increased our number of advocates. So we've done that over the last year.
For sure.
Yes.
Do you know how many there are about?
I believe there's 6. I have to get back with you on that, but there's. Let me get back with you definite numbers. But we did add additional advocates over the last year. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.